Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video book review on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and today we are taking a look at Third Reich Lugers, just very recently published by Tom Whiteman. Tom Whiteman, by the way, runs Legacy Collectibles. You've seen some videos on this channel, perhaps, that were filmed out of his collection. And he specializes in World War II German pistols and in particular Lugers, and has decided at last, or well, I'm sure it's been in the works for a little while, but has decided to publish a collector's reference guide to, well, as the title suggests, German Military World War II Lugers. So start with the overall scope of the book. This is going to cover basically Krieghoof and Mauser Lugers that are made between 1934 and 1945. It does not, however, include the foreign military contracts that were done in particular by Mauser. So this doesn't include Portuguese Lugers that were made during this time period. This is exclusively German military pistols, as well as German police and German civilian commercial sale pistols, because actually there were civilian sale pistols made and sold during the war years in Germany. So the way the book is set up, it's a little over 300 pages, and it's broken into chapters that are basically each major variation of pistols. And for the beginning of the book, that's pretty much one chapter per year. As you get into the 1940s, you get some chapters where you have multiple chapters about each particular year, going into some of the different variations, because of course production scaled up and some of the stuff kind of got weird at the end of the war. But each chapter is pretty formulaic. It's going to start with a very brief sort of historical background context for that given year, what was going on in particular with Luger production. Then there's a table that will give you the serial numbers, the proof marks, the acceptance marks, the identification marks, that sort of stuff for each variation of pistol in that chapter. And then it describes each of the variations in detail. So each chapter starts with the Wehrmacht, the German army pistols. Those are the largest quantity in, I think, every single year. But then there's also a section in every chapter on Kriegsmarine pistols, the Navy pistols, Luftwaffe, Air Force pistols, police pistols, and the civilian commercial production pistols. Most years had production in all of those categories, and if a given year didn't have any, then there's a very short section in that given chapter that says there were no police pistols made, or whatever. At the very end of the book, it does also get into a couple of the oddball types. There's a chapter on the KU pistols, also a chapter on what he refers to as PX pistols, or guns that were assembled from parts specifically for sale to US GIs doing occupation duty, or GIs who were actually there during the war, having liberated or overrun the factories. So those are covered as well. I mentioned this is Krieghoof and Mauser. Krieghoof Lugers are particularly rare and particularly desirable to collectors. And one of the cool things that I like is, well, Tom's been making and building a database of Krieghoof Lugers for years, and he has actually included that entire database at the back of this book. And it takes a bunch of pages, but it is every serial number that he's got in his database. And for hardcore collectors, for Krieghoof collectors in particular, I think that'll be a really welcome resource to have at hand. Now, all of the regular chapters they're nicely supported with photography. When there are markings that are described, there's always a photograph of the marking in particular. The photography is pretty good. You know, it's nice and clear. You can see what the markings are that he's actually talking about. There are a bunch of places where there are side-by-side comparisons of early was this, late was that. And it's, especially for the little subtle details, it's really handy to see those side by side. Overall, I would say Tom has done a really good job of collating the essential information for the collector. Now, if you want to know why some of these changes were made, or what was the larger story, what was going on at Mauser, details of development of the Luger, none of that is really going to be in this book. There are a few little bits and pieces, but not in any substantial detail. This is really a collector's guide. The intention here is, I'm going to pick up a Luger at a gun show, and okay, this is theoretically a Mauser BYF 41 pistol. What should I expect to see for all of these details? Flip open the book to that chapter and check to see if the pistol is correct, or if something's been replaced, or if something's been faked, or anything like that. So that's the purpose. If you want the whole in-depth history of the Luger, get the 3-volume set by Sturgis and Gortz. It's massive, it's phenomenal, it's got all the information you need, but if you're just trying to authenticate one given pistol, it's really clumsy. It's a really clumsy resource to try and dig through. This is the collector's guide. This is also far less expensive than Sturgis's book. Cover price on this is $70, and there is also a Kindle version for $30. If you'd like an electronic version and save some money, that is an option here. It is available through Tom's website, Legacy Collectibles. If you're on YouTube, I'm not linking to Legacy Collectibles because they also sell guns. If you're not on YouTube, you'll find a link to Legacy Collectibles in the description text below. Everyone will also find a link to Amazon in the description text below where you can pick it up if you're interested. In my opinion, it's a very valuable collector's reference guide. I think if you are even considering buying a single World War II German Luger, it behooves you to get a copy of this book first, because this will essentially be free the very first time you use it to confirm what it is that you're looking at in terms of a Luger pistol. It's information that can easily save you $1,000 of extra money on something that you shouldn't have spent extra for. So they always say if you're going to get into collecting, start by buying a book. There's no better place where that's true than Luger collecting. These are expensive pistols with a lot of very subtle details that differentiate them. And this book is a great way to tell the difference between all of those things. Also interesting to point out, Tom did a neat thing in here where at the end of every chapter, he actually has a QR code linking to a video that he has done on his YouTube channel about the content of that chapter. So it's a neat thing. That's, I think, the first time I've seen that in a firearms reference book. It's cool to see authors getting up with the times, especially in something that's typically a less technologically savvy field of collecting. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Definitely a good book. Not something for everyone, but if you're planning on getting World War II German Lugers, it is, I would say, essential. Thanks for watching.